I woke up wearing clothes I didn't remember putting on. Again, my name is Maya, and for 3 years, I thought I was losing my mind. Every morning, I'd wake up exhausted, like I'd run a race in my sleep. Sometimes my body hurt in places I couldn't explain. Sometimes I'd find bruises on my arms and legs that I didn't remember getting. My husband would smile at me over breakfast and say, "You were tossing and turning all night, honey. Maybe you need to see a doctor." But before I tell you what really happened, I need you to do something for me. If this story touches your heart, please hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. And tell me in the comments where you're watching from. We love hearing from you. Your voice matters, and together we can help others who might be going through the same thing. Now, let me take you back to where it all started. 3 years ago, I was a reading teacher at Riverside Elementary School in Atlanta. I loved my job. Every day, I helped kids discover the magic of books and stories. I had 23 students in my class, and each one felt like they were partly mine. When they learned something new, my heart would fill with joy. My husband's name was Cameron. He worked with computers, building programs and websites for big companies. He was handsome, with dark hair and green eyes that sparkled when he smiled. Everyone said we were the perfect couple. My friends were jealous. My mom adored him. Even my dad, who never liked anybody, thought Cameron was wonderful. Cameron would bring me flowers every Friday. He'd cook dinner when I was tired. He'd rub my feet while we watched movies. He remembered my birthday, our anniversary, and even the day we first met. He seemed like a dream come true. But dreams can turn into nightmares when you're not looking. It started about 6 months into our marriage. Cameron came home one evening with a small bottle of pills. They were white and round, and the bottle had a fancy label with flowers on it. "What are those?" I asked, stirring pasta sauce on the stove. "Vitamins," he said, kissing my cheek. "Special ones. They'll help you sleep better and feel less stressed. Teaching is hard work. Maya, you deserve to feel your best." I didn't think much about it. Lots of people take vitamins, right? My mom took calcium. My sister took vitamin D. So I swallowed one pill that night before bed, just like Cameron asked. The next morning, I woke up feeling like my head was full of cotton. My tongue felt thick. My eyes didn't want to open. But Cameron was already dressed for work, cheerful as ever. "How'd you sleep?" he asked. "Strange," I said. "Really, really deep." "That's good. That means the vitamins are working." He kissed my forehead. "Take one every night, okay? Doctor's orders." Except Cameron wasn't a doctor, but I trusted him. That was my first mistake. Weeks went by, then months. Every night, Cameron would bring me a glass of water and one white pill. "Vitamin time," he'd say with that perfect smile, and I'd swallow it, never questioning, never wondering. But things started getting weird. I'd wake up and my pajamas would be inside out, or I'd be wearing a nightgown I didn't remember owning. Once, I woke up and my hair was in a braid, but I always wore my hair loose to bed. When I asked Cameron about it, he'd shrug. "You probably did it in your sleep," he'd say. People do strange things when they're sleeping deeply. My body started feeling wrong, too. Some mornings, my jaw would hurt like I'd been clenching my teeth all night. Other mornings, my wrists would be sore. I found a bruise on my hip that looked like someone had grabbed me hard. Another time, there were marks on my shoulders, little red circles that faded by afternoon. I went to my doctor, Dr. Patterson. She was kind and patient. She ran blood tests and checked my heart and looked in my eyes with a little light. "Everything looks normal," she said, patting my hand. "You're healthy as can be. Maybe you're just stressed from work. Have you thought about taking some time off?" But I wasn't stressed. I loved teaching. Something else was wrong, but I couldn't figure out what. Then came the memory gaps. I'd be sitting at my desk at school, grading papers, and suddenly realize I couldn't remember the drive to work that morning. Or I'd be making dinner and have no idea how I got home. Hours would just disappear, like someone had cut them out of my life with scissors. My friend Tasha noticed. We taught in classrooms next to each other, and we'd been friends since college. "Girl, you okay?" she asked one day during lunch. You seem really out of it lately. Ai rufine ilid, just tired. Maybe you should switch vitamins, she joked. Whatever Cameron's giving you isn't working. That sentence stuck in my brain like a splinter. Whatever Cameron's giving you. Why did she say it like that? Like the vitamins were his idea, not mine? That night, I paid more attention. Cameron handed me the pill and water at exactly 9 o'clock, like always. But this time, I noticed how carefully he watched me swallow it, how his eyes followed the movement of my throat, how he wouldn't look away until I opened my mouth to show him it was gone. Why did he need to see proof? Normal people don't do that. If you give someone a vitamin, you just hand it to them and walk away. You don't stare at their throat like you're making sure they actually swallowed it. My heart started beating faster. Something was very, very wrong. Over the next few days, I started paying attention to everything. I noticed that Cameron had started locking his desk drawer, the one in our home office. He'd never locked it before. I noticed he'd tilted his computer screen away from where I usually sat. I noticed he took phone calls in the garage now instead of in the living room. And I noticed that every single weird thing in my life had started exactly when I started taking those pills. One afternoon, while Cameron was at work, I tried to open his locked desk drawer. It wouldn't budge. I looked for the key everywhere, in his coat pockets, in the kitchen junk drawer, under the mattress. Nothing, but I did find something else. In the bathroom cabinet, behind the towels, there was another bottle, same white pills, same fancy flower label. But when I looked closely, I saw something that made my blood turn cold. The label wasn't from a vitamin company. It was homemade, printed on regular paper and taped to the bottle. Someone had made these pills look like vitamins on purpose. That night, when Cameron gave me my pill, my hand shook so hard I almost dropped the glass. But I swallowed it like always, because I didn't know what else to do. I was afraid. I was confused. And I didn't know if I was being crazy or if something terrible was really happening. But as I lay in bed, feeling that familiar heavy sleepiness wash over me, I made a decision. Tomorrow night, I wouldn't really swallow the pill. Tomorrow night, I would pretend. And tomorrow night, I would finally learn the truth about what my husband was doing to me while I slept. The next day at school, I could barely focus. My students were reading their favorite books during quiet time, but I kept staring at the clock. Tick, tick, tick. Each minute felt like an hour. All I could think about was tonight. What would I discover? Was I being silly? Was I wrong about Cameron? Part of me hoped I was wrong. Part of me wanted to find out that the pills really were just vitamins, and I was worrying about nothing. But deep down, in the quiet place inside my heart where truth lives, I knew something bad was happening. When I got home, I acted completely normal. I made spaghetti for dinner. I laughed at Cameron's jokes. I told him about a funny thing that happened with one of my students. I pretended everything was fine, even though my stomach felt like it was full of rocks. At exactly 9 o'clock, like clockwork, Cameron brought me the pill and water. Vitamin time, he said with that smile I used to love. My hands were sweating. My heart was pounding so loud, I thought he might hear it. But I took the pill from his hand, put it in my mouth, took a big drink of water, and swallowed. Except I didn't really swallow. I'd practiced this earlier in the bathroom with a piece of candy. I tucked the pill under my tongue, in that little space between my tongue and my bottom teeth. Then I swallowed the water and opened my mouth wide. All gone, I said, showing him my empty mouth. The pill was hidden perfectly. Cameron's eyes checked my mouth carefully, like he always did. Then he nodded, satisfied. Good girl, he said, and those words made my skin crawl. That's how you talk to a dog, not to your wife. He kissed my forehead and went back to watching television in the living room. I went to our bedroom and climbed into bed. As soon as I was alone, I spit the pill into my hand and hid it in a tissue in my nightstand drawer. My heart was racing. I'd done it. I'd tricked him. Now came the hard part. I had to pretend to be asleep. I lay very still in bed. I made my breathing slow and deep, the way people breathe when they're sleeping. I kept my eyes closed. I didn't move at all, Even though my nose itched and my leg wanted to scratch and my brain was screaming with fear, I waited and waited and waited. About an hour passed, maybe longer. Time feels strange when you're lying perfectly still in the dark, pretending to sleep while your husband watches television in the next room. Then I heard footsteps. Cameron was coming to the bedroom. The door opened slowly. Light from the hallway spilled across the bed. I kept my breathing steady. In, out, nice and slow, like I was deep asleep. I felt Cameron standing over me, watching me. My skin prickled with fear, but I didn't move, not one muscle. "Maya," he whispered. "Maya, honey?" I didn't answer. I kept breathing, kept pretending. Then he did something that made my blood turn to ice. He lifted my arm and dropped it. My arm flopped onto the bed like it was made of rubber. He was testing me, checking to make sure I was really unconscious. I'd seen this in a movie once. When people are truly asleep or knocked out, their bodies go completely limp. So I stayed loose, stayed floppy, even though every part of me wanted to jump up and scream. "Perfect," Cameron whispered to himself. He left the room. I heard his footsteps going down the hallway, going down the stairs, going to the basement. Our basement was Cameron's space. He'd set up an office down there when we first got married. He said he needed somewhere quiet to work on his computer projects. I almost never went down there. He didn't like me going down there. Now I knew why. I waited 5 more minutes, counting seconds in my head. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. When I was sure Cameron wasn't coming back, I opened my eyes. The house was quiet except for sounds coming from the basement. I heard Cameron's voice, but he was talking to someone who was in our house. We didn't have visitors. It was almost 11 o'clock at night. Moving as quietly as possible, I slipped out of bed. My legs were shaking. My whole body was shaking. I tiptoed to the bedroom door and peeked into the hallway. The basement door was open. Light glowed from downstairs. And I heard voices, multiple voices, men's voices. Terror washed over me like cold water. There were strange men in my house, and my husband had invited them, while I was supposed to be drugged and unconscious upstairs. I had to know what was happening. I had to see. Our house had a heating vent in the hallway floor, right above the basement. When we first moved in, Cameron had complained that you could hear everything from the basement through that vent. Sound traveled straight up through it. I crept to that vent and lay down on the floor. I pressed my ear against the cold metal grate. What I heard made me want to vomit. "She's out cold," Cameron was saying. "The stuff I give her works perfectly. She never remembers a thing." "How much are you charging?" Another man's voice asked. $500 for an hour. $1,000 for the whole night. Cash only. My brain couldn't understand what I was hearing. It was like the words were in a different language. Charging? For what? For me? "Can we see her first?" a third voice asked. "Sure, but not tonight. Tonight's just for the videos. I've got 3 new ones since last week. Really good stuff. She has no idea any of this is happening." Videos. He was making videos of me. While I was drugged, while I was unconscious and couldn't say no or stop him, or even know what was happening. Tears started running down my face, but I didn't make a sound. I couldn't let them hear me. I had to stay silent. I had to stay safe. "This is some high-quality work," one of the men said. "How long have you been doing this?" "About 2 years now," Cameron answered, and I could hear the pride in his voice. Pride, like he was talking about a hobby or a business achievement. Started slow, just filming. Then I realized I could make serious money. She trusts me completely. Takes her pill every single night, like a good little wife. 2 years. He'd been doing this for 2 years. 2 years of drugging me. 2 years of violating me while I lay helpless. 2 years of bringing strange men into our home to watch videos of my unconscious body. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run down those stairs and attack him. I wanted to call the police right that second. But I didn't do any of those things. Because I was smart enough to know that if I confronted Cameron now, he would know I'd tricked him. He would know I hadn't taken the pill. And I didn't know what he might do to me if he knew I'd discovered his secret. So instead, I did something else. Something that would save my life and put Cameron in prison where he belonged. I crawled back to the bedroom, moving like a ghost, silent and invisible. I grabbed my phone from a nightstand. My hands were shaking so badly, I almost dropped it twice. I opened the camera app and started recording audio. Then I crept back to that vent and held the phone against the grate. I recorded everything, every word, every horrible, evil word coming from my husband's mouth and the mouths of the men he'd invited into our home. 10 minutes of recording. Proof. Evidence. Truth. When the voices started moving toward the basement stairs, I ran back to the bedroom and dove under the covers. I hid my phone under my pillow and closed my eyes and made my breathing slow again. Cameron came upstairs. I heard him walking around, checking things. Then he came into the bedroom. He stood over me again, watching me sleep. "Sweet dreams, Maya," he whispered. Then he laughed quietly, like he'd made a funny joke. He climbed into bed next to me, next to his wife, the woman he'd promised to love and protect, the woman he'd been drugging and using and selling for 2 years. I lay there in the dark next to him, my heart breaking into a million pieces, and I made a plan. Tomorrow I would buy hidden cameras, small ones that Cameron would never find. I would put one in the bedroom and one in the basement. I would collect evidence, videos, proof that no one could deny, and then I would destroy him. Before I continue what happened next, I need to pause for just a moment. If this story is making your heart race, if you're feeling angry or scared or sad for what happened to me, please hit that like button. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe so you can hear the end of my story. And please, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. When you share your location and your thoughts, it reminds me that I'm not alone, that we're all in this together. Your support means everything. Now let me tell you how I fought back. The next morning, Cameron went to work like nothing had happened. He kissed me goodbye. He told me to have a good day at school. He was still playing the part of the perfect husband, but I wasn't playing anymore. I was planning. During my lunch break at school, I drove to a store that sold security cameras. I told the man working there that I needed tiny cameras to catch someone stealing from my classroom. He showed me cameras, so small they could fit inside a book or behind a picture frame. I bought 2. They could record for hours and hours. They saved everything to a memory card. And best of all, they had night vision, so they could record even in the dark. That afternoon, I had one camera on my bedroom bookshelf, tucked behind a photo of my parents. You couldn't see it at all, unless you knew exactly where to look. I pointed it toward the bed. The second camera was harder. I had to get it into the basement without Cameron knowing. So I waited until Saturday when Cameron went to gym. He always went to gym on Saturday mornings for 2 hours. As soon as his car pulled out of the driveway, I ran to the basement. My hands were shaking as I walked down those stairs. This was Cameron's space, his secret place where he did terrible things. The room looked normal, a desk, a computer, some shelves, but I knew what happened here. I knew the evil that lived in this room. I found a heating vent in the ceiling. Perfect. I stood on a chair and tucked the tiny camera into the vent, pointing it toward Cameron's desk and the center of the room. You couldn't see it at all. It looked like just another shadow. Then I ran back upstairs and waited for Cameron to come home. That night, I pretended to take the pill again. I tucked it under my tongue, showed Cameron my empty mouth, and spit it out as soon as he left the room. And the cameras recorded everything. I did this for 2 weeks. 14 nights of pretending to sleep. 14 nights of lying perfectly still while Cameron checked my body to make sure I was unconscious. 14 nights of horror. The cameras captured it all. They showed Cameron bringing different men into our basement. They showed him taking money from these men. They showed him on his computer, uploading videos to secret websites. They showed him coming into our bedroom and doing things to me while I pretended to be asleep. Things I can't even say out loud because they hurt too much to remember. But I needed this evidence. I needed proof that no one could argue with or deny. Every day, I would take the memory cards from the cameras while Cameron was at work. I would copy all the videos to my laptop. Then I would email them to myself. I saved them to 3 different cloud storage accounts. I put copies on USB drives that I hid at school and at my friend Tasha's house. I made sure that even if Cameron found 1 copy, there would be 10 more he couldn't reach. I also took 3 of the white pills to a laboratory testing place. I told them I thought someone was poisoning me, and I needed to know what was in these pills. It cost $300, but it was worth every penny. The results came back 1 week later. The pills contained something called Rohypnol. The lab technician's face went pale when she told me. "This is a date rape drug," she said quietly. "It's illegal. Whoever gave you these committed a serious crime. You need to call the police right now." But I didn't call the police yet. I wanted to make sure I had everything I needed first. I wanted my case to be so strong that Cameron couldn't lie his way out of it. On the 15th day, I knew I had enough evidence. Hours and hours of video. Audio recordings. Lab results proving the pills were drugs. Bank statements I'd found showing Cameron had deposited thousands of dollars in cash over the past 2 years. It was time to run. I called Tasha and told her everything. She cried on the phone. She was so angry she could barely speak. "Come to my house right now," she said. "Don't tell Cameron anything. Just get out of there." The next morning, after Cameron left for work, I packed a suitcase with my clothes and important documents. I took my laptop with all the evidence. I took my hidden USB drives. I took photos from my childhood and my grandmother's necklace and the things that mattered to me. I left my wedding ring on the kitchen counter. Then I drove to Tasha's house, and I never went back. That afternoon, with Tasha sitting next to me holding my hand, I walked into the police station. I asked to speak to a detective. They brought me to a small room with a table and 2 chairs. The detective's name was Officer Lisa Chun. She was kind and patient. She listened to everything I said. She didn't interrupt. She didn't judge. She just listened. Then I showed her the videos. Officer Chen's face changed as she watched. Her jaw got tight. Her eyes got hard. When the videos finished, she looked at me and said, "We're going to arrest him today, right now. And I promise you, Maya, we're going to make sure he pays for what he did to you." 6 police officers went to Cameron's office and arrested him in front of all his co-workers. They put handcuffs on him and read him his rights. They searched our house and found his computer full of videos. They found records of all the men he'd sold access to me. They found everything. Cameron tried to lie at first. He said I was making it up. He said I was crazy. He said the videos were fake. But evidence doesn't lie. Science doesn't lie. Cameras don't lie. The prosecutor, a strong woman named Jennifer Martinez, built a case against Cameron that was impossible to deny. She charged him with drugging, assault, trafficking, and 12 other crimes. The trial took 4 months. For months of sitting in a courtroom while lawyers talked about the worst things that had ever happened to me. But I was brave. I testified. I looked Cameron in the eyes and told the truth. Some of the men he'd brought to our house were arrested too, and they testified against him to get lighter sentences for themselves. The jury took only 3 hours to decide. Guilty. Guilty on every single charge. The judge sentenced Cameron to 18 years in prison. 18 years where he couldn't hurt me or any other woman. He also had to register as a sex offender for the rest of his life, which meant everyone would know what he'd done. When the judge read the sentence, I cried, not because I was sad, but because I was free. After the trial, I moved to Charlotte. I got a job teaching at a new school where nobody knew my story unless I chose to tell them. I started seeing a therapist named Dr. Williams. Twice a week, I would sit in her office and talk about everything that happened. She helped me understand that none of it was my fault, that I was smart and brave and strong. Healing wasn't fast. Some days I felt okay. Other days I felt broken. I had nightmares. I was afraid of men I didn't know. I stopped trusting people easily. But slowly I got better. 2 years after the trial, I met a man named Marcus at a teacher conference. He was a math teacher at another school. He was kind and gentle and patient. When I told him my story, he didn't run away. He didn't treat me like I was damaged. He just held my hand and said, "Thank you for trusting me enough to tell me." We took things very, very slowly. He never pushed me. He respected my boundaries. He understood when I needed space. And gradually, carefully, I learned that not all men are like Cameron, that some men are truly good. Today, I'm okay. Not perfect, but okay. I still see a therapist, Dr. Richardson now. I still have hard days. But I also have good days. Days where I laugh with my students. Days where I have coffee with Tasha. Days where Marcus and I take walks in the park. And I remember what it feels like to be safe. I'm telling you this story because I want you to know something important. If any of this sounds familiar to you, if someone in your life is giving you pills or drinks that make you feel strange, if you're having memory gaps or waking up confused, please listen to your gut. That feeling that something is wrong, trust it. Here are the warning signs. Pay attention to them. Somebody insisting you take medicine or vitamins and watching to make sure you swallow. Waking up tired even after sleeping for hours. Memory gaps or lost time. Bruises or soreness you can't explain. Someone locking drawers or hiding their phone. Feeling like you're going crazy when you're really being manipulated. If these things are happening to you, you're not imagining it. You're not being dramatic. Something is wrong, and you deserve help. Call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. They can help you make a safe plan to escape. Tell someone you trust. Save evidence if you can do it safely. Take pictures. Record conversations. Keep copies in places your abuser can't find. And remember this. What happened to you is not your fault. The person hurting you is responsible for their choices. Not you. You deserve safety. You deserve respect. You deserve love that doesn't come with drugs or lies or pain. I survived and you can too. It won't be easy. There will be days when you want to give up. But please don't. Please keep fighting. Please keep hoping. Because there is life after abuse. There is joy after trauma. There is a future where you wake up every morning feeling safe in your own bed, in your own body, in your own life. You are stronger than you know, braver than you think, and worth so much more than anyone who would hurt you has made you believe. My name is Maya. I'm a survivor. And if you're reading this because you need help, please know that I'm rooting for you. The world is rooting for you. And one day, you'll be telling your own survival story to give someone else hope. Stay safe. Stay strong. And never stop fighting for the life you deserve.